Sagittarius. This woman in your family doesn't want you to see this message. Sagittarius. She didn't just speak badly about you behind your back. She quietly turned to dark energy, something only the desperate seek when they can no longer control the light of another. To try and block the light you carry. This is a story about envy, spiritual betrayal within the family, and the reason why you, a soul of light, are being quietly targeted by someone closest to you. But they've forgotten one thing: you are not alone. And this time, the light will win. In today's video, you will uncover the truth about a woman in your family, someone who silently harbors jealousy. Someone who's made you feel drained without knowing why. I'll show you what the cards have revealed to me, a subtle force working in the shadows to make you question yourself. But you won't just find out who has been holding you back from your destiny, you'll also discover why the universe is standing on your side. This is not just a reading. This is the unveiling of a secret your soul has always known, but never dared to name. If what I'm saying is awakening something deep in your heart, write in the comments, "I am ready to see the hidden truth." Because that sentence isn't just a declaration. It is a spiritual act. A vibrational signal sent to the universe confirming that you are ready to step out of the fog and into your own light. Sagittarius. There is something I've learned after more than 50 years of working with energy, spiritual currents, and ancient astrological charts. We don't just inherit hair or eye color from our ancestors. We inherit fear, unfulfilled dreams, unhealed wounds, and sometimes, curses no one dares to speak aloud. Family is not just the place where we're born. It's also the first place where our soul is bound by invisible laws. I once read for a Sagittarius woman, around 47 years old. She always felt she was too much, too enthusiastic, too dreamy, too independent, and therefore, too hard to accept. But when I looked at her natal chart, everything became clear. Her fourth house, the house of ancestry and legacy, was ruled by Saturn, the planet of restriction, obligation, and generational trials. She wasn't born to be confined by her family. But family was the first place that taught her to doubt her own light. And strangely enough, she was not alone. Have you ever wondered why certain people in your family react so strongly when you live your truth? Why, every time you step out to follow something different, a new belief, a freer lifestyle, a healing path, someone in the family says, "Who do you think you are?" It's not because they don't love you. It's because they're afraid of losing the version of you they can control. Because when you change, they're forced to confront the part of themselves they abandoned long ago. And not everyone is ready to face that. There are women in every family, like the one the cards have shown me, who have spent their whole lives suppressing their emotions, pleasing society, obeying some outdated mold of what it means to be good. They didn't live the life they wanted. They lived the one others imposed on them. And so, when they see you, someone who dares to dream, dares to act, dares to break what's outdated, they don't know how to respond except with anger. You may be the first in your lineage to say no to inherited beliefs, to love in your own way, to draw boundaries, to exist without asking permission. And that, Sagittarius, is exactly what makes you the sacred fire in your bloodline. There's a quote I always carry with me. The first to break a generational curse often bleeds the most. And if your whole life has felt like a battle between loyalty to your family and loyalty to your soul, then maybe you are the one chosen to bring healing to your entire lineage. Not by sacrificing yourself, but by living as your true self, even if someone doesn't like it. One night, I sat beneath a dim yellow lamp, remembering the women in my family. My great-grandmother, a gentle soul, faithful to God, but who lived in silence all her life. My grandmother, stronger, but silenced by her husband. My mother, a woman with an artist's heart, always called a dreamer. And then there was me. The first to write, to step away from old doctrine, To seek a more living faith. I understood that the freedom I now have was paid for by the quiet sacrifices of generations before me. But I also realized this. If I didn't dare to live honestly, then in my turn, I would pass down yet another curse to the ones after me. So now, Sagittarius, I ask you. Are you living as someone else's copy in your lineage, or are you living as the soul you were created to be? Write to me in the comments. I am the first in my family to break the limit. Because that isn't just a sentence. It's a powerful declaration to the universe that you choose the light. You choose the truth. You choose to move forward. And if you've ever been misunderstood, pushed aside, or left out simply for being real, I want you to remember this. The light inside you doesn't need approval. It only needs your acceptance. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Because your soul is already living proof of a life worth believing in. The greatest lesson I've ever learned is this. Family may give birth to us. But only when we dare to be different, can we truly heal them. So if there's a woman in your family trying to dim your light, understand this, she is not the enemy. She is the final expression of a system that is collapsing. An old dream trying to hold on to something that has already rotted. And you are the one chosen to move beyond it. That is why you're here, listening to these words, at this exact moment. And the beautiful thing is, you are not walking alone. Because in the next part, I will show you why your intuition is getting stronger, why your recent dreams are not random, and why something sacred is making its way toward you, even when someone else is trying to block it. So take a deep breath, because the journey is only beginning. Have you ever felt like you were waking up, but couldn't move forward? As if you were standing on the edge of something big, a beam of light. A new truth, a soul-level shift, but something kept pulling you back? Like you had wings, but every time you were ready to fly, an invisible hand held your feet to the ground? Sagittarius, if you felt that recently, I want you to know, you are not alone. And more than that, it's not your fault. In astrology, whenever the soul is preparing to rise to a higher vibrational level, the universe often allows resistance to appear. Not to punish you, but to test whether you're truly ready. For you, Sagittarius, this is especially powerful. Because you're not just a seeker of truth. You're a carrier of truth, for others. And that always threatens the old energies. Looking at the sky in recent months, I've seen unusual movements. Jupiter, your ruling planet, is traveling through deeply spiritual zones. The 12th house, the house of the subconscious, of inner shadows, of things that have never been named. For many, this is a time of slowing down, even darkness. But for Sagittarius, it's an invitation to become the one who brings the light. To go where others avoid. And to return carrying illumination. But just as the light is about to be switched on, the darkness fights hardest. Maybe lately you felt tired for no reason. Your intuition is stronger, but you doubt it. You're having strange dreams. You feel uneasy when entering a room. You sense someone is being dishonest with you, even if they haven't said a word. All of that is not random. I once worked with a woman close to 60 years old, a true Sagittarius. Her whole life, she felt there was something different about her, a deep spiritual awareness from childhood. A connection to God not through sermons, but through feeling. But her family followed a very rigid path. She was taught that dreams and intuition were just imagination. Every time she felt like she was about to open up to something big, there would always be someone to make her doubt herself, or pull her back to reality. And she lived like that for almost 40 years. Until one day, during a sharing circle, she heard someone say a sentence I also want to share with you now. If your silence pleases others but wounds your soul, then you are betraying the sacred within you. That sentence made her cry. And it made me go silent. Because I understood. I had lived that way too. I had been warned not to dig too deep. That knowledge about energy, astrology, and spirituality would lead me astray. I had once hidden my sensitivity just to be accepted in a family with rigid beliefs. But I also knew, if I continued to stay silent, the things stirring inside me would begin to die. And a sacred part of me would die with them. You see, awakening isn't the glorious event people imagine. Awakening is a lonely journey. It's when you begin to doubt what once felt certain. It's when you lie awake at 3 a.m. because something is calling your name. It's when you no longer fit into familiar conversations, and you feel like you're suspended between two worlds. And right there, in that space, negative interference appears. Maybe it comes through criticism. Maybe through an undefined anxiety. Through a woman in your family who always makes you feel not enough. Even if she says nothing cruel. That is how darkness tests you, with doubt, with guilt, with the belief that maybe you're just imagining it all. But I want you to hear this clearly, from someone who's walked through the dark and made it out alive. If you feel like you're about to rise, it's because you truly are evolving. And the things trying to hold you back, they're not strong. It's just that you've become stronger than ever. So I ask you, my brave soul. Have you ever held back your intuition just so you wouldn't seem strange in the eyes of others? Have you ever stayed silent while your soul was screaming something important? Share it in the comments. I choose to listen to the calling of my soul. Because that sentence is a homecoming. It's a declaration that you trust the sacred voice within you more than the doubt echoing from outside. And if you feel lost in this process, know this, you are not alone. I am here. Those who walked this path before you are here. And the universe is leaning in to support your every step. The biggest lesson of this phase is this. Not every delay is a failure. Sometimes, it's the quiet space needed to help you discern your true voice from the noise around you. And if there's one thing you must hold on to, it's this. Your awakening is a gift. No matter who tries to make you doubt it, the truth doesn't change. And in the next part, we'll talk about you, about the Sagittarius light that cannot be extinguished. About the role you carry in your family, your generation, and your soul's journey. Because if someone is trying to hold you back, it only means you're ready to fly farther than ever before. Sagittarius, there are souls who are not born to continue tradition, but to free the bloodline that's been bound by outdated patterns. And you, yes, you, are one of them. I know this isn't something everyone is ready to hear. And not everyone has the courage to accept that role. Because carrying the fire of awakening is not easy. Sometimes you'll be misunderstood. Isolated. The one your family whispers about, they're too different. But then, as time goes on, and the light you carry begins to spread, you'll be the first one they remember when their walls begin to crumble. I once sat alone at night, under an old yellow lamp, and asked myself, why me? Why, in this entire family, am I the only one who sees this? It wasn't a question of confidence. It was the loneliness of a soul who awakened too soon. But then I understood. Because when light needs a vessel to pass through darkness, it doesn't choose the comfortable. It chooses the ready. And that, Sagittarius, is you. You carry an energy no one taught you. A truth no one handed to you. You weren't taught how to live this way, you were born with a map written inside your soul. You feel when something's not right, even if everyone is still smiling. You know you can't keep living just to please others, especially when it's killing something sacred inside you. And most importantly, you dare to act. Not everyone has that courage. But you do. And because of that, you're not just different. You are the chosen. I've seen so many Sagittarius souls walk into my reading room with weary eyes. But the moment I start talking about them, the fire within, the search for truth, The desire to break patterns and step out of family loops, they cry. Not because they're weak, but because, finally, someone sees them. They don't need rescuing. They need recognition. Just like you do now. Let me say this clearly. If you've ever felt like you had to carry the weight of your family's silence, sorrow, or misfortune, you've been holding a burden that was never meant to be yours. Healing doesn't come from sacrificing yourself. It comes from living as you were created to be, even if it makes someone uncomfortable. It's time to stop asking for permission to be free. It's time to stop dimming your light just to keep someone else from feeling exposed. Because you know what? They don't hate you. They've just never seen anyone step out before you did. You're doing what no one else in your family has done. You're breaking loops. Breaking molds. Breaking generational limits passed down like heirlooms. You're the first to ask. Is there another way? And because of you, there will be a second. A third. A new generation. You're not just healing yourself. You're opening the door for others to follow. So if someone in your family ever made you feel guilty just for being different, remember this. Your difference is what your ancestors once prayed for but didn't know how to name. You are the answered prayer. And even if someone tries to snuff out your flame, your fire will still burn. Because it didn't come from them. It came from God. The only question now is, are you ready to live as a liberator, instead of someone who lives to be accepted? If your heart is trembling with emotion, write in the comments. I am the light my ancestors once lost. Because that affirmation is a beginning. A healing frequency. A liberating act, for yourself and for the generations after you. The deepest lesson I've learned over the years is this. You cannot save your entire family if you're still shackled by their chains. To lead, you must be the one to step out first. And to step out first, sometimes you have to walk alone. But I promise you, when you walk in truth, in faith, in light, you will never be alone. Because the universe will send you companions. Souls who are also breaking the cycle. Souls who carry the mission of freedom too. And in the next part, we'll go deeper into something vital. Why your dreams, intuitions, and spiritual signs have been appearing more often than ever. Because when you step into the role of a generational healer, your soul begins to communicate in ways the ordinary world cannot understand. But you understand. Because you're ready. Sagittarius, have you ever felt like the universe was speaking to you? But not with words? A feather right on your doorstep. An old song playing in the middle of hundreds. A number that keeps repeating. A dream that doesn't feel random. If you've been seeing signs like these, don't ignore them. Because they're not coincidences. They're callings. Long ago, I learned to respect the language of the universe. It's not loud. It doesn't need to shout. But once you learn to listen, it will lead you exactly where your soul needs to go. And for you, Sagittarius, that time is near. You're entering a sacred cycle. A stage in your soul's journey that not everyone is privileged to experience. When Jupiter, your ruling planet, moves into houses of spirit, soul, and inner transformation, it's a sign that something within is being unlocked. No more blind action. This is the time for awareness. For intuition. For the unseen. I once read for a young Sagittarius woman, only 28. She told me she had been waking up at 3:33 a.m. recently. She didn't know why. She wasn't afraid, but she felt like someone was calling her in a dream state. When I looked at her chart, I saw powerful activation in the 12th house. The house of the invisible, of ancestors, of deep spiritual energy. And I told her something I also want to tell you right now. You are being awakened by the very source your soul carries within. When signs begin to show up everywhere, it means the universe no longer wants you to live on autopilot. It's when you're being invited to live awake. Every step, every choice, every word. And have you noticed, Sagittarius? You've become more sensitive lately. Not weak, but empathetic. You sense who's being real, who's pretending. You can see the truth in someone's eyes before they even speak. You're losing interest in meaningless conversations. You feel the need to be still, to look within. And do you know why? Because you're listening to your soul. You're hearing the call from the deepest parts of your being, where there are no masks, no expectations. Only one thing, truth. And the truth is, you no longer fit into the old world. The truth is, you're being prepared by the universe for something greater. So ask yourself, am I really listening? Or am I trying to explain away the miracle with logic? You cannot analyze a sacred message like a math problem. You must feel it. You must let it reach you. And when you do, your entire life will begin to change. Remember this. The universe doesn't speak to perfect people. It speaks to ready people. And if you're hearing these words, maybe you're ready now. So if you've ever felt as though someone, or something, was whispering to you from the unseen. If you've ever felt touched in moments others didn't notice, then write in the comments, I am listening to the universe. Because that's how you align with the energy that's approaching. That's how you confirm to yourself that you're no longer turning away from the call. The greatest lesson I've learned during this awakening journey is, not everyone will understand your path. But you are not allowed to abandon it just because they don't. Maybe that woman in your family doesn't believe what you're feeling. Maybe she thinks you're just being dreamy, or irrational. But you're not here to satisfy outdated perceptions. You're here to fulfill the mission God placed in your heart. And if your light makes someone uncomfortable, maybe they need to take a closer look at the darkness within themselves. You don't need to do anything except keep walking. Keep believing. Keep your intuition alive. Write in a journal. Record your dreams. Ask questions whenever a sign appears. And then, you'll see, the picture will slowly become clear. And in the next part, we'll step into a decisive moment. A crossroads where you must face the biggest question. Will you remain silent out of fear of losing someone? Or will you choose to move forward, even if it means others walk away? It's a choice between loyalty to the past, or loyalty to your soul. And you, Sagittarius, you already know the answer. Sagittarius, at some point, each of us stands at a crossroad. One path is familiar, with the people we love, the faces we've known, the rules we've followed. But it's also the place where our soul slowly shrinks. The other path is unknown, with freedom, light, and a sacred invitation from the universe. But also filled with uncertainty, loneliness, and no promises. This is the moment of truth. And if you're hearing this now, perhaps you're standing right there. I've been there too. I once sat in a room, surrounded by people I called family, and yet my heart felt like it was being crushed. Every time I spoke about what I believed, I felt like a stranger. Every time I lived in my truth, I saw the look in their eyes change. And I remember the day I asked myself, does real love require me to abandon who I am? The answer is, no. Real love doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't ask you to stay silent when your soul is ready to speak. It doesn't require you to fit into someone else's soul just to stay in their arms. Real love doesn't control. It liberates. But to reach real love, you must first have the courage to step away from the false kind. Even if it comes from blood, from family, from the past. This is the moment of destiny. Will you let go, or will you rise? Letting go doesn't mean hatred or revenge. It means accepting that some relationships cannot walk with you forever. That some people love you, but cannot understand you. And that some people you love cannot stay, if staying means losing yourself. Sagittarius, you were not born to fit. You were born to expand, to soar, to reach depths your ancestors only dreamed of. And that will cause some people to leave. But don't be afraid. Because when the old doors close, light will guide you to soul-aligned connections. People who won't ask you to dim. People who love you for who you are becoming. People who see your light and don't envy it, but light theirs beside yours. I once asked a Sagittarius client, a woman who deeply loved her family but had been deeply wounded by them, this question. If you had to choose between being accepted as a shadow, or rejected but living as your true light, what would you choose? She cried. And then she smiled. I choose the light. I hope you choose the same. Because the light in you did not come from them. It came from God. If these words are awakening something in your heart, write in the comments. I choose to stay loyal to my soul. That is not a rebellion against anyone. It is a promise to yourself. That you will no longer abandon who you are, ever again. The greatest lesson I've learned in life is this. You can do everything to be kept in someone's heart. But if it costs your soul, then you've paid too high a price. And you, my dear, deserve a love that doesn't require you to disappear. This journey is not for the faint of heart. But you, Sagittarius, are not faint. You are the bearer of fire. You are a warrior of truth. The one who shoots the arrow toward the sun, even when no one else dares to look up. So ask yourself once more. Am I living to be kept, or living to be free? You already know the answer. And in the final part, we'll speak of the most beautiful truth. That you have never walked alone. That even when someone tried to harm you, turned to dark forces, the light you carry was always stronger. Because you were not born just to survive, you were born to lead. And real light always overcomes the dark. Sagittarius, if you're still listening by this point, then perhaps your soul is truly reaching for something far greater. It's no longer about betrayal. No longer about the pain someone close to you once caused. But about a deeper truth, now beginning to reveal itself. That you have always been the chosen one. From your earliest days, when you were just a child unaware of limits, you could feel the difference within you. Something in you always reached further, not because you were dissatisfied with the present, but because you sensed something waiting for you out there. A calling. An invisible thread tying you to destiny. Let me tell you this. No one can extinguish the light that was planted in you by heaven. No matter what they say, what they do, or what dark energies they try to send your way, that light will never be defeated. Because real light does not fight with weapons. It simply exists. And when it exists, darkness has no choice but to retreat. You no longer need to prove anything. You don't need to explain. You don't need permission to exist. This life isn't about whether you are accepted by others. It's about whether you dare to live truthfully with the gift God placed in your heart. I spent many years afraid I'd be abandoned if I lived authentically. That if I didn't follow the unspoken rules of family, of society, of old beliefs, I would lose everything. And the strange thing is, I did lose. I lost some people. I lost some places. But then, I found myself again. And when you find yourself again, you stop fearing loss. Because you realize there is nothing more precious than living in truth. Nothing more sacred than walking with your soul, without regret, without bowing, without hiding. Sagittarius, you are the carrier of light. Not the kind of light that comforts, but the kind that forces others to look at themselves. That's why they fear you. That's why they try to dim you. But true light doesn't need to be accepted to exist. It just needs to be seen and preserved by you. The message the universe is sending you right now is not a soft promise. It's a confirmation that you are on the right path. That you are walking through your greatest shadow, doubt. And on the other side of that shadow is a version of you more powerful, more free, more beautiful than anything you've ever imagined. If you feel this reaching something deep in your heart, write in the comments. I step into my destiny with my own light. Not for others to see, but for the universe to hear. For your soul to confirm. You have chosen the light, not just once, but every day from now on. The final lesson I want to leave you with is this. You were not born to be a perfect healer. You were born to be real. And real light is never perfect. It flickers. It stumbles. But it shines just enough to lead the way. Like the flame of Sagittarius, it burns not because anyone allows it, but because it knows it was born to rise. You were born to be real. And when you are yourself, with all your wounds, your intuition, your light, and the tender courage of your heart, you are already a miracle. Remember, no one can stop an awakened soul. No one can shut a door heaven has opened. And no one can take away your destiny, unless you give it up yourself. And you won't give it up. I know that. Because if you've listened all the way to this point, then you've already gone farther than most. You've dared to face the darkness. Dared to name the pain. Dared to stand in the truth. And most of all, you're ready to love yourself again, just as you are. The end is not the end. It's the beginning of a new way of living. A way of walking, head held high, carrying the flame of Sagittarius in your heart. Not to please others, but to light the path for yourself and for those who will come after you. So keep going, softly, firmly, full of faith. Because true light always finds its way home.